What's going on, wrestling family? Welcome back to the channel. So I apologize that I'm late on posting for the hot takes. After the Raw stream, it was like 10:45 in my time. I blinked and all of a sudden it was 6 o'clock in the morning and I posted it the next day. But if you're new to the channel, what I'm going to do is react to people's hot takes in regards to Monday Night Raw. And if you want to be involved in the next video, be sure to subscribe to the channel and pay attention to the community tab after Raw and SmackDown. So when I post that, I want to see you guys hot takes there and I'll try to react to as many as possible. Also, if you have a chance, on Friday, we are live streaming SmackDown, so hopefully I get to see you guys there. Without further ado, let's get into the hot takes. Pure Fusion Collective, or whatever Sonya said, is the most horrendous tag team name I've ever heard. Yeah, you right when you right. You right when you right, because that name is... I don't know who came up with this name. Maybe this name would grow on me, but it don't sound threatening at all, especially when you got a group of Sonya Deville, Zoe Starks, and Shayna Baszler. You want something a little bit more threatening, something that sounds more deadly. Outside of the Pure Fusion Collective, it sounds like something a supervillain would invent back in the 1960s to kill Spider-Man. The Pure Fusion Collective gun or something like that. But as far as tag team names, there has been worse tag team names that I've heard before. One that comes off the top of my head is when the Viking Raiders came up to the main roster and they were called the Viking Experience, right? And it sounds like a massage parlor for like Vikings or a section of a museum. Or, oh, the tag team that a lot of people keep forgetting about is when Kofi Kingston and Evan Bourne was a team and their name was Air Boom. That's it, Air Boom. That name is terrible. But Pure Fusion Collective, maybe it'll grow on me. I don't like it right now, but we'll see as time goes on. Surprisingly, Rhea and Damian Priest versus the New Judgment Day / Street Trashes Street Trashes became the highlight of every Raw after SummerSlam. In my opinion, it outshines everything that's currently going on Raw, even the World Heavyweight Championship title scene. Wow, that's definitely a hot take. Now, for me, I think what's going on with the Y6 is really, really interesting, and I'm interested to see how they're going to do this whole thing with Gunther and his title reign. But outside of that, I have some interest here and there. Now, even though I don't 100% agree with you, I do understand why you have this point of view, and I think your perspective is very interesting, because if we take a step back and think about what happened at SummerSlam in regards to the Raw roster, the Judgment Day seems to be the only storyline that came out of SummerSlam evolving into something new. Like we saw Dominic Mysterio cost Rhea Ripley her title by helping out Liv Morgan and kissing Liv Morgan, which now Rhea Ripley has a problem with Dominic Mysterio and she inevitably turned into a babyface. The same could be said in the whole thing between Damian Priest and Gunther, where Finn Balor cost Damian Priest his title. Now him and Damian Priest, who were best friends, are now bitter enemies because of what happened there, and Damian Priest is now finally a full babyface. So coming out of that, although we had a group of full heels, now we got two baby faces and a semi brand new faction of the Judgment Day, in which they're stating they're going to run their entire faction a little different than the previous version of it. So it's like, how are the Terror Twins going to get revenge? How are they going to run this Judgment Day to make this a little bit different? How is this going to help Finn Balor? Because I know a lot of people wanted Finn Balor to get a better opportunity as a singles competitor, and there's so many things that can come out of that. And there's other things that happened on SummerSlam in regards to the Raw roster where you can't really say that about. Let's say, for instance, the match between Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn lost his title. There's not really much interesting that can come out of that, and we could talk about the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre match later because somebody else has a hot take for that. But again, thank you for your hot take. If Karrion Kross wants to be good again, shave your head bald. Are you talking about me or are you talking about him? Because I get what you mean. Because when he was bald, especially when he was in NXT, they booked him a lot better. But you got to remember, when he came up to the main roster, when he looked like 50 Shades of Kane when he had all that leather on. Like if you've seen Dodgeball, when the average Joe's got the wrong package of uniform, that's what he looked like. He was bald head there. So I don't know. The thing is, Karrion Kross is actually pretty good, but it's just what they do with him, it just doesn't match who he is. So it's so weird how that all works out, because in NXT it works so good, and you look at what's going on in the main roster, it just doesn't turn into anything. Now I don't know if it's creative that they don't know what to do with him, because that whole thing that they had with him doing with the cars and Shinsuke Nakamura and so much, I thought that was an interesting concept, but then they stopped doing that. So I don't know where they're going with this whole thing. I guess the faction is the best thing to go for him. I personally would have loved it if WWE would have found a way to get Sami Callihan over here to have him a part of the group with the Final Testament, and because him and Karrion Kross are really good friends, that would have made it a little bit more interesting. Because if you want to talk about the faction of the Final Testament, outside of Karrion Kross, that group really doesn't have any personality, and that's no disrespect to either of those people, but they just don't. They don't have anything interesting outside of Karrion Kross talking. And since Karrion Kross isn't that interesting to a lot of people, it hurts the entire faction itself. So they need another member of the group, and I don't know who or what that can be, but hopefully they can figure it out, man. I actually do like Karrion Kross. Randy Orton wins his 15th World Championship at Bash in Berlin with a huge upset over Gunther. What? That is definitely a hot take, and that is definitely not gonna happen, okay? Because if that happens, it makes you wonder, why didn't you just wait till further down in Gunther's title run, 5 or 6 months, to allow this match to happen if it's gonna happen that way? Also, if this was gonna happen, you might as well have just kept that title on Damian Priest until you was ready to give Gunther a more substantial title run at that point. But I hope this doesn't happen. You want to talk about the IWC going crazy? This will definitely do that, and it feels like they have some good steam going on right now with Gunther building into something interesting. So this was terrible. What was the point of Dom leaving Rhea for Liv if his character was not changed one bit? They have made him and Liv look so weak in that segment after months of being so dominant. Triple H has clearly showed how biased he is towards Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest. Wow, okay, so that is a hot take. So I can tell you why he left Rhea for Liv, and there's 2 things. 1, backside bongos. Okay, we saw what she was doing a couple Raws ago when she had the jeans on and she was showing what she was doing. Also, another word, chicken nuggets. Okay, Rhea Ripley's not feeding the man chicken nuggets. Why should he be there? But on a serious note, it's probably more so about Liv Morgan, you know, being so complimentary of him or complimenting what he's doing. And Rhea Ripley, you know, since the beginning, Rhea Ripley kind of manipulated and was kind of abusing the man to get into the group up until this point. So maybe he just got sick and tired of people trying to tell him what to do, which is the issue that he has with his father, which is the issue he had with Damian Priest at one point when he said, "You remind me of my father." So he probably just don't like people pushing him around and telling him what to do. That's probably what it is for him. Now, at the end of the day, I don't feel like they made Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio look weak, because their character is really some heels who do stuff to people and try to avoid the consequences, which is aka getting punched in the face by Rhea Ripley. So that seems to be the case. And also, if you want to think a little bit more realistic, and I get that this is wrestling, if you look at the size difference between the 2 teams, it makes sense that Liv and Dom don't try to face those 2 individuals, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, face to face, because those are some big individuals. To make it believable that they can take them down at a fair chance, it's like saying that Kevin Hart should beat The Rock in a boxing match in a boxing ring with no interference. It just doesn't make any sense at all. But I completely understand your frustration, and hopefully down the line they'll find a way to turn it around where Dominic Mysterio gets a little bit more brave, and so does Liv Morgan, and figure out a way to get some substantial wins and make her look a little bit more tough during her title reign, because you don't want that to be the legacy of her having this title. But thank you so much for your hot take. This rivalry between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre feels like the end of 2023 Bloodline. Had run its course, but did everything they could possibly do with it. I won't say that it ran its course, and I won't say it's stale or anything like that, but I can get how you feel that way, because after Drew McIntyre won at SummerSlam, you feel like that would be the end of it. But then we saw what happened where Drew McIntyre was getting whipped with a belt. So it just feels like the storyline here is that they're just going to put these guys in different matches and where they could just pack each other up. And if you're a fan of wrestling in a way where you just like to see people fight just to fight, then this will be the feud for whoever likes that stuff. Now, the interesting part is, like, how are they going to up the ante to make this storyline continue? Like I said before, they need to do something like what Triple H did to Randy Orton, where he invaded his house and went in there to look for him. Drew McIntyre either got to come into CM Punk's house or vice versa for them to continue this feud. I would rather see Drew McIntyre go into CM Punk's house so we can see AJ Lee in there and him threaten AJ Lee, and then probably take something that belongs to her that CM Punk gave her, and then that can escalate the feud to the next level. But if they don't have anything to go to the next level with, they've already hit the glass ceiling, and this is probably going way too far. But I'm gonna trust in Triple H and see what he has to add some more fuel to this fire. Should really have had Damian and Finn wrestle in Berlin. That kind of rhymes. I think it would have been good to start their rivalry and maybe end it at the Rumble. Now, here's the thing. I really think the choice of having this mixed tag match at Berlin and just announce it out of nowhere was a fairly interesting booking decision, to say the least, because Damian Priest's problem is really with Finn Balor since he cost him the title. But if you think about it, it makes sense, because Damian Priest is so close to Rhea Ripley, and for Dominic Mysterio to do that to her, he's doing that to defend this person that's close to him, the other half of the Terror Twins. So I think what's going to happen here is they're going to have their match at Berlin, of course, but Finn Balor is going to get involved and cost Damian Priest that match, and then that's going to spin off to start their feud on the following Raw after Bash of Berlin. And then I don't know when they should end it. I don't know if they should end it at Bad Blood or what could happen, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens down the line. Miz is going to turn heel soon and attack R-Truth. I mean, there's nothing left of R-Truth to turn heel on, because if you saw what happened on Monday Night Raw, that man has fused with the mat after what Bronson Reed did to him. That man turned him into a truth pancake. But in regards to the Miz turning him, I don't know why that would happen, unless you're referring to the fact that Truth keeps putting him in these situations by making these, you know, wild decisions of not thinking first, like he put him in that match against Bronson Reed in the first place. But I can't see that happening, but I guess there's a possibility. I don't know. I can't say whether that's a bad idea or a good idea. The only way it could be a terrible idea is if it just doesn't make any sense. They just have to make this make sense. To be honest, with Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest no longer in the Judgment Day, the new Judgment Day is complete boring jobber squad. They are street trash for sure. Okay, well, it's only been 2 weeks so far, and people did say the same thing after Edge left the Judgment Day, and look what happened with them. They became one of the best storylines in WWE, especially for Raw. So I think we probably should give it a little bit more time before we come to that conclusion. But if you do feel that way, hey man, to each his own. I'm not here to try to change your opinion on that. WWE doesn't write me any checks, but I feel like I'm just going to give it a little bit more time to see what direction they're going to go with this whole thing. Prime is the worst drink ever. Okay, I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I've never drunk Prime, so you guys let me know. Actually, you know what? My guy Ninja Boy Say What, go check him out on YouTube. He's the hugest Prime ambassador of all time, so he would know what's good. And if you don't like the flavor you had, he'd probably point you to a flavor that's good. So check out his channel and then comment on one of his videos and ask him what's the best flavor of Prime. I don't drink that stuff, so I wouldn't know. No Dragon Lee. What the heck, Triple H? Now, I actually like Dragon Lee, so I understand where you're coming from. But from what I understand, I think he's still injured. He's been injured for a while, and there's been rumors, I guess, that his girlfriend or his wife just had a baby. Don't quote me on that. I don't know, but I know for sure that the injury is real. So hopefully he'll have a speedy recovery and he'll come back, because he's very, very interesting in the ring, and I can't wait to see what they do with him in the future. I have genuinely no idea where Braun is supposed to go right now. I get he just won the IC title, but these mini Sammy and Braun matches does tend to get a bit stale. Yeah, I get it. It just feels like this is what's been going on with the IC title as of lately. Like, if you get the title, you get into a feud, you got to have a best 500 out of 1,000 matches series with somebody, because that's what happened with Sammy and Chad Gable. Now what happened with Sammy and Braun Breaker. So I don't understand what they're trying to do, and I don't even know what's next for Braun Breaker, because if you look at the roster on Raw, I don't know where he can go next. He already destroyed Ilya Dragunov, so it's like, why return to that? I don't know what's next. Maybe Ludwig Kaiser, maybe whoever wins the feud between Pete Dunne and Sheamus and that whole situation. I don't know where they go with this entire thing, but it's going to be interesting to see what they do next. Bronson Reed looks like he should not be a wrestler, but a McDonald's fast food employee. Dang, the dude is underrated, no skill, just over 300-pound guy that can jump off the top rope. Dang, what does a McDonald's employee even look like? And I'm confused, because the last part you said the dude is underrated and he has no skill. So I don't know. I'm a little confused. I think Bronson is pretty good. I like what they're doing right now. I think they're finally getting them into something that's a lot more interesting than they did before. And if you've seen him in the indies as Jonah, he's actually pretty good. It's just that WWE didn't do a pretty good job as far as showcasing his talent. And they're finally putting him in a position where people can finally see him as something to be feared of. So, you know, I don't agree with that take at all. I don't think he looks like a McDonald's worker. I don't see too many McDonald's workers that look like him. In fact, they look like the complete opposite. So, I mean, hey, to each their own. Dominic Mysterio needs to win a title at some point. He's too deserving not to have one, and you could imagine the heat he would get if he won a championship. Yeah, he'll get a ton of help. Outside of him winning the North American Championship, which we saw him do, he definitely should win the IC title. And I know someone else said that in the hot takes, but I was thinking about that beforehand. I actually am like writing the script for a video on how it can happen, so stay tuned. It may come out tomorrow, it may come out the day after, but I'm gonna show you a whole roadmap of how they can do it and how it can definitely make sense. And there's gonna be a very interesting surprise at the end of what I'm gonna tell you guys. So it's gonna be a little bit of fantasy booking, but this comes from my guy Kicking It with Leo. Go to his channel, hit that subscribe button. I really wish WWE had a trios title. I think it would have succeeded in WWE, because there's a lot of groups in WWE, which includes NXT. Now, it's very interesting that you bring this up, because as of lately, we've seen a lot of 3-person factions pop up, and especially 6-man tag matches, whether we're talking about Isla Dawn, Alba Fire, and Blair Davenport, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi. We got the Final Testament that got 3 people going against the New Day, whether we're talking about the Pure Fusion Collective, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, although that would make sense since we got a ton of those groups happening, I feel like until WWE figures out what to do with normal tag team championships, that they shouldn't worry about a trios as of yet. Now, if they do it down the line and make it make sense and make it where it doesn't feel like we're crowded with too many titles, then I will be all for it. But right now, I think their focus needs to be fixing those tag team championships and getting a mid-card title for the ladies. But I think that's a great idea for the future. Hopefully Triple H sees what you have to say. Xavier Woods' heel turn needs to be done right. Having him join the Final Testament is not the move. I can partially agree with that. I mean, it doesn't make sense for him to join the Final Testament, but if their side of Xavier Woods, if him turning heel can add something to the Final Testament as it is, then it probably can create a great storyline and actually add more character to the Final Testament and actually put the New Day finally in something interesting, which is something they haven't been in for years. So I want to see how this whole thing turns out. You know, at face value, it doesn't look like a good idea, but I want to wait and see how this whole thing develops, and maybe it'll surprise us. You just never know. WWE provides Ivy Now with one last chance at stardom with heel turn. Yeah, you know, if you didn't watch my live stream on Raw, I was excited, and I even predicted before the match happened that Ivy Now was going to attack Maxine Dupree, and I think that's a great move for her. I think if they build her to be like the woman version of Brock Lesnar, who's ruthless, who just destroys people, it would be great to see for her, and that can make her get closer and closer to stardom, and probably build her into a feud between her and Rhea Ripley. Now, although Ivy Now in stature compared to Rhea Ripley is kind of small, but she is pretty chiseled. She has a chain and everything, so if they can make her threatening, that can really help out her career. And I love when WWE finds an opportunity to bring fresh faces and add something new. Now, I know she was with the Creed brothers before when they were Diamond Mine, but now they're on the main roster. Now they should give her really something to do, something for the fans to chew on, for this person to be very threatening. And I like what they're doing. And I don't know if this is her final chance, but this got to be one of her final chances. Dom is the greatest Mysterio of all time in WWE. I gotta highly disagree with that. I get it. I know he probably is one of your favorites in WWE, and it's a lot of recency bias going on because he's doing some great work as a heel, but the greatest Mysterio of all time over Rey? I don't know. Maybe you're younger than me, but the stuff that I've seen with Rey Mysterio, it's gonna be a while before Dominic Mysterio really tops what his father did. But you know what? Everybody has their own opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. CM Punk beating Drew McIntyre with his own belt like he stole something was the highlight of the night for me. That wasn't the highlight for me, bro. I got PTSD. I don't know if you grew up like me, but that brought up some stuff that happened in the past as far as getting a whooping for doing something wrong. I actually felt bad for Drew McIntyre, bro. I'm like, bro, you should have worn 4 pairs of pants. You should have worn 6 pairs of shirts, bro. That's how we survived as a kid. But it was a funny moment. He took off that Stacey Adams belt and put the work on Drew McIntyre. But hey, you know what? It's funny. So that's gonna pretty much wrap up the video. Thank you guys submitting your hot takes to the community tab. I appreciate it, and I apologize to any ones that I did not get to. I will respond to it in the community tab. Again, if you want to be a part of the next video, subscribe to the channel, watch the community tab after SmackDown and Raw, and I will make a post asking you guys for your hot takes. Thank you guys so much for your support. I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a great week. Salute, peace, have a good day.